Let's see if it pops up over here. All right, there we go. Working. All right. So, like I said last night, our goal is this fucking area. Get this up and running. What? I think Alexa's offended now. Alexa, resume. What the hell is going on with that thing, man? Just stopping and skipping on me and shit. I'm gonna bust its fucking hell. I feel like Bernie Mac in Transformers movie. Not, I hate to be quoting a bad movie, but you know when he's waving to his grandma, I'll bust your ass. Yeah. That's my grandmammy over there. I'll bust your ass. It's a true loss of a comedic genius. Sorry. I'll bust your ass. Go work the cold one. Go work the cold one. I probably could have been here a little earlier, actually. My son, dude, what is your fucking problem? Anyway, my son's karate class got moved up to a little earlier in the day, just by about half an hour or so. But I'll be honest, I came home and I laid down next to my wife. But we came home just to talk to her a little bit about his class. He's got a makeup class on Thursday. It reminds me, I will be late on Thursday here, and I'll try to post something about it just to remind everybody. So it's going to be my first night where I have to kind of skip a little bit. What the flying fuck? Listen, NSA officers, if you're listening to me, fuck you. Put my fucking shit on. Alright, sorry. I like cold beverages, and I would like to listen to it sing about cold beverages. Motherfucker, I'm gonna break this fucking thing's ass one day. So I'm kind of going backwards on this one. Instead of doing the trees and the branches first this time, I kind of already got in there, and I was like, I've got to do the branches. But I'm kind of okay with it. I spent a lot of time today, actually, in between phone calls at work, watching, not watching, but looking at paintings at the Van Gogh Museum. And it's funny, I've ran and raved on here before about the National Gallery's picture viewer on their site. Dude, the Van Gogh Museum is so much better. Oh. Well, I'll say this. The National Gallery's one flows a lot smoother. Once you're in the preview section, you can zoom in and out, no problem. That was really cool, but without having to click any like buttons, you can just use your scroll wheel. The Van Gogh one, you have to click, zoom in. But Jesus Christ, you get right the fuck up on the brushes. Oh, I love it. Love it. So I highly recommend just go up to the Van Gogh Museum, search their collection. You will not be disappointed. Unless you're not a Van Gogh fan, at which point I have to ask what the fuck you're doing here for. And I just realized I need paper towels. Shit, I will be right back. Looks like I could do a paper towel run some BJ's sometime. Anyway, as I was saying, the Van Gogh museum's viewer is just phenomenal. I was sitting there zooming in on a bunch of stuff. Primarily, I'll be honest, I was going back in my own history kind of thing. My buddies and I went down to the Van Gogh's exhibit. And I've mentioned it before on here. It was down at the National Gallery. Junior year of college, so that would have been 98? 97, 98? And so I was going through and finding stuff that was part of that exhibit. I just re-looking at that a little bit. I tried to find something that might help me with this water idea, issue that I'm having. I really couldn't find something that matches the same weird colors I have going on in here. That the way the light shines into this area and lets you see that sediment. So I'm going to have to keep looking. Going to try out some Delacroix stuff tomorrow maybe. To try to get an idea of what I want to do. But what I was going to say is, like I said, I was going backwards a little bit because I was on their site and I was looking at some of the paintings where it's clear he was painting the structures of the leaves and stuff, and then was going back and adding in stuff for background stuff. So I thought, I used to do it this way. Wasn't always successful at it. But it's not something I should necessarily be afraid of either. And the mighty must join as one. When together we'll cross the river. Nurture heaven and hope. One day I'll get over to that museum. And together we'll cross the river. I'm going to send a shout out to my buddy Mike, who was here talking last night to me. His channel here is No You Are the Tube. And it's spelled exactly as it says, He's being funny about YouTube. It's like, no, you are the tube. Anyway, he did a stream earlier tonight, building a Lego set, and he bought like a special customized Lego set. Dude, it was so cool. I'm not spoiling. I will not spoil what the set was, because it's not, it's not something you buy in the store. I was watching him, and I'm like, dude, what are you building? He's like, it's a surprise. I'm like, okay, all right. And I'm watching him, going, okay. At first, I'm like, is it Super Nintendo? Is it like an old computer? It was neat to watch, and I'm not gonna spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. It was very, very cool. So, go over there, click follow, and just check it out. Gave me something to do during my kids' karate class. Down with my girlfriend. That ain't right. I'm not cussing. The fight. Right now, it's James Brown Payback playing in my ear here. I have to say, this has perhaps one of the greatest lyrics, one line that is absolutely beautiful, and I don't know that's ever been surpassed. Uh, let this kind of drift into that same area. That's really what it's doing. They're kind of, it's two different trees, but yeah. But I don't do no damn squealing. But the lines, I don't know karate, but I know crazy. Love it. It's fucking hilarious. Feel that backstabbing? Ready. Fact. Get ready, you mother. Pull the big baby back. Alright, so this is gonna all kind of pull in that way too. Hit it. Hey, hey. Ow! My honey. See what you're doing to me. I gotta deal with you. I gotta deal with you. I know I gotta do over this too. Hold on. Honey, cuss. Wanna fight. Karate. But I know crazy. And a little bit up here, I think, just to give it a little light violet we made earlier. Just a couple of dashes in here. But let it catch some of that other yellow ochre carmine mixture. A little touch of cadmium that we had. Just to give it some, again, a little bit of bark. Oh, I'm starting to lose, get more white than I am getting purple. I'm poking through the skin, so it's like. Same one. Same one. I don't know why it shocks people sometimes when they find out that I'm a very big James Brown fan. Or just funk in general. I had a couple people I worked with at the Phillies that when I was talking to them about it was actually from when I used to listen to Pandora a lot in here rather than my Amazon Music, and when I was transitioning over to just Amazon stations, I used to talk about the variety. I was talking about the variety difference sometimes. And I said I would listen to James Brown station, and they mixed it up a lot. They got a lot of really good mixtures and stuff going here. And then when I came to the Amazon stations, I found them. They were repeating a lot of the same songs. At one point, they did "Doing It to Death" like 30 times in a row, and I was like, "Dude, it's a good song." I mean, it wasn't like in a row. It was more like we were talking the other night. Holy shit, that's blurry. Glad I looked at that. That's a little better. But this thing's fucking with me again. I'm gonna turn up there. Maybe that'll better. That's a bad one. Hold on. I mean to click that one. All right. That's too tight. That's what she said. I don't know what that means. But the I was talking about I said they did Doing It to Death. Like it was like they'd play Doing It to Death. They'd play something else maybe from like Marvin Gaye or something like that, and go right back into Doing It to Death. And it was like, dude, all right, it is a good song, and I know there are multiple versions of that song where maybe it goes a little longer, and maybe this one's a little shorter. It's like part 1 and part 2. Cool, that's fine. But it got to the point where it was like I was listening to repeating the same parts and again. I was like, dude, no, we can't do this. I've since stopped even trying with the Amazon Music stations because they just are horrible. If it weren't for the fact that Pandora's now gotten to the habit of literally one song, 2 commercials, at least the last few times I've been listening to them. It's like, I'm not going to pay another $8 on top of the money I pay Amazon, and I pay the extra for their. I have Prime Music, but then I also have their Music Unlimited forever, which is like $8 a month already. So it's like I'm not paying $16 so I can listen to one, and when the other's pissing me off, I'll listen to the other. No, we're not doing that. I already paid for this one. This is the one I'm sticking with. It's a shame because, like I said, I really preferred at least Pandora's variety. Like if I listen to a 90s station on there, I'd find a lot more weird shit coming up than I do from Amazon's. Amazon's a lot more of the big hits from the grunge era, rather than listening to like something really bizarre like or long since forgotten, like She Don't Use Jelly, something like that. And maybe it wasn't a huge hit or anything like that, but it's just there's those little ones, Belly's Feed the Tree, that's one that I would hear on Pandora. I don't get it when I listen to 90 stations on the Amazon Music. Did you have a problem? This bitch wants to fight tonight, I think. Alexa, resume. Oh, this bitch wants to fight. Oh, we're gonna fight tonight. Ah, I see what it is. Alexa, skip. There we go. Rhinoceros. Fucking rhinoceros. Back and I'm horny. Wisdom teeth. Hip hop-opotamus. My lyrics are bottomless. Love this song. So I just enjoy that part so bad. Though admittedly, I have a couple of these singing comedian type things on there, and I don't get to hear half of them, and that bothers me. Yeah, it's a margarine. Hip hop-opotamus moves on the rockers. Large water drawing mammal. Did you get that? That's just hypothesis. Did Steve tell you that? But that's Steve. How many Steves we got here? I'm not Steve. So potent that in this small segment I made all the areas in the area pregnant. Lyrics are sexist, but you lovely bitches know I'm trying to correct this. Say why? Exactly. Be more constructive with your feedback. I did like listening to some of the Game Grumps episodes. And do not ask me to tell you which episode because I honestly could not tell you. It was probably months ago, and I didn't even remember what game they were playing when they talked about. But Dan Alvedon, Danny Sexbang from Ninja Sex Party, uh, was talking about how he really got inspiration from Flight of the Conchords and some of those guys that you know proved you could kind of make this you know spoofy music but do it seriously. I was like, that's kind of cool. It's yeah, he'd been questioning what he was doing and debating whether to keep going, and then he met some of these, paid attention to some of those guys and what they did, and it's like just kind of keep at it, and it'll pop for you eventually. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people, myself included, sometimes, we stop like the minute before we're successful, something like that. You're doing something you truly, truly adore. And usually it falls under other people's words start getting in your head. I mean, I know for a fact that kind of stopped me continuing to pursue painting as an actual profession. Um, a long time ago. Uh, and it wasn't that the people that around me at the time weren't being supportive at that time. It's just old words of theirs popped into my head. And I mean, it's like, my folks, teachers, etc., people that were just like, and I'm not talking my art teachers because obviously as much of a hard time as they gave me, I think they did all think that I had a shot doing something with this. Even if they didn't like me. It's just that, to kind of give you some history again into what happened to me at kind of college age. I've said it before. I became a father at 18 years old. And that actually convinced me to go to school, which is I'm very thankful that happened. I wasn't going to go to college. I was just going to kind of roam the U.S. and paint and canvas and hopefully not starve to death. I was totally ready to do like odd jobs just to get by and afford paints. My intentions were to completely just ditch my my daughter's mother, my oldest daughter's mother, not my current one, but I didn't know her at the time, and just kind of take off. But then I found I was going to be a father, and I was like, I got to be a good role model. And so I went to school, and I graduated in 4 years. I didn't take any extra time, or anything like that. I didn't take any part-timing, none of that. I just went straight through, plowed ahead, did what I had to do. And I was working 40 hours a week in some cases. So, I mean, it's not like I was just doing whatever I had to do, waiting tables is a really good part-time job for, like I said, it was almost full-time for an artist because, like, especially in college, because, dude, I was like a wealthy college kid, it seemed like. So I always had money because I just worked like the night before, so I had my tips from the night before. I can eat this week, so. I need to buy paints the next day, and I just bust my ass a little more, whatever I had to do. Um, if it's super slow, and let me get out of here and I can go to work on this, my paintings. So anyway, I'm falling apart. So anyway, my ex and I got married in between freshman and sophomore year of college, and by spring break of sophomore year, we were separated. As is normally the case, she, you know, took primary custody of Alexis, and wow, I didn't trigger it. I'm shocked. I didn't trigger it. Anyway, and I did what I had to do, and the downside was my ex really did like to hold potential visitation rights over my head, as if she was going, if I couldn't afford the insanely expensive daycare she was trying to get her listed in, sometimes she'd say, well, then maybe you don't get to see her anymore, blah 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 blah. That happened a lot. And then my ex had started to date. It was actually the son of her boss at the car dealership she had worked at that time. But he was kind of already prepped to move to California. So he moved to California a few months later, I guess. And they tried to do the long distance relationship thing. It really wasn't working. And he basically gave either you move out here or we're done kind of thing to her. And she tried to convince me to let her go. And I said, well, you can go. But Alexis is not going. I'm sorry, I have rights as a father, and I know that. At the time, my ex was used to a life where I was a pushover. But by this point, I was pretty heavily studying philosophy and really getting an idea of self. So it really started to throw her off left and right when I would not roll over and show my belly. So she ended up going out to California for a visit, and I guess that was the end of their relationship or whatever. And she came back, and she quite literally knocked up on my door with my daughter in hand, and went and turned around. Hello, Katie. And I know it's going somewhere at that point. I can't figure out what Oh, but because Allie ended up coming to live with me, I ended up, kind of also canceling post-college plans, which were involved going to France. And that's cool and all. And because now she's living with me, now I'm the primary caregiver, I decided I had to get jobs, real jobs. I couldn't just be a painter. And that's where those other people's voices popped into my head. Basically telling me not to really hardcore pursue this, that other stuff had to be done first. And it's times like that keep popping up, and I'm trying this time to make sure that it doesn't end up in control. And it's funny because, like I said, the people around me at the time, by this point, my parents had come around to the idea that it's possible for someone like me to actually make money and become successful in painting. But the voices of my parents from 10 years earlier about how I need to stop worrying about art and focus on, what skills will get me a job later, started popping in my head. And it's one of those, as I said, it's basically like I was saying, just don't stop. You probably always, saw some picture. It's like a guy digging through the dirt, and it's like a foot above diamonds, whatever. It's like a cutaway shot, whatever. And the guy's stopping right there instead of going that extra foot, and it's that same thing. That's what I'm trying to do this time around. It's just weird trying to explain to grant applications and gallery applications that I am an emerging artist at 40 years old. But get back there eventually. Get back to having shows like I used to. Yeah, and as I said, it's as I said, the people that I kind of was hearing in my head at the time. At the time this was all happening, really were being supportive. It's just that I had the ghosts of their, you know, things they had said to me growing up. So it was like, high school teachers and my folks and stuff. And like, I'll never forget, I got in trouble in 6th grade by my English teacher. Because I used to draw in class all the time. It's just how I did things. In a lot of ways, I was taking my own notes by sketching. And this teacher did not quite understand how that worked with me. And she told me to stop. And I had. And when I was flipping through my notebook at one point, I had an old drawing that was there. It was, I think it was Mickey Mouse, actually. And yeah, it was. And it's just, she looked down at that exact moment this Mickey Mouse drawing was there, and she failed me. She said, "You now have an F, and you're going to have to pull up." And I was like, what? Like, it was just kind of I wasn't even, and I didn't get a lot of backup from my folks on that one. It was like, well, you screwed up. You shouldn't have been drawing. And I was like, I wasn't drawing. And they kept saying, you need to stop doing this in class. This is not going to get you a career. Like I said, I'm 11 years old. I know I just liked it. I would like to have gone and had a career in it. And so it was kind of, it didn't happen really until once I started going to school. My folks started to turn. They really did start to see that it was possible. I had taken a summer course at the University of the Arts right before my senior year of high school. And when they did kind of the open house thing and they met some of my teachers and they were telling them some of their stories, yeah, my dad kind of really clicked on, like, shit, he actually could make a career out of this. These people have careers. And so since then, I mean, like I said, they really were. It's just that when Allie came to live with me, those old voices came back. I had to get a job. I had to take care of this kid, I had to be the stable point for her. Because she really was in a bad spot. I mean, like, the way her mother dropped her off, she had a lot of issues just coping with it. And it's totally understandable. So I had to get a schedule. I had to get, something she could rely on and understand that this happens at this time. She goes to her daycare at this time. She goes to, and that required getting a job that had a schedule. So I had to kind of cut back on. Yeah, and my ex at the time, she had dropped her off, then she had herself committed. And that's a whole other thing, and I could go into that for a while, but I'm not going to. But until she was out, I was the sole provider. And when she came out, she had to get a job again because like I said, she had been dating her boss's son, and I guess whatever happened wasn't an amicable split, and so it got kind of difficult for her. So it's just like I said, and I'm not trying. Please understand, I'm not trying to actually bash my ex at the time. I get it. I do understand what she's going through, and I'm not going to say I was being a dick because honestly, it's my kid. She can't leave without my permission. Alexa, skip. Put that fucking album on one more time. I swear to fucking Christ, I'm gonna rip you. Not this either. Alexa, skip. That one's there strictly for my daughter, my younger one. it's just yeah, and that's just it. You start, you know, I kept flaring up, and I kept trying to, every now and then I'd be like, okay, well maybe I can do something with this. And like I ran it at one point when I was still waiting tables. I ran into my old kindergarten art teacher, and when she found out who I was, and that she knew me and knew my family because she had taught all of us. She was just amazed I was still painting, and so she was like, "Oh man, yeah." She went over. She actually went to the Borders, which was right next to the old restaurant I used to work at, and bought me Van Gogh's complete works. So like this old book here, this is the one she gave me. I still have it. It is beat up and worn and read many times over, and it's beautiful that way. Um, and you should have seen her reaction when she had my daughter for kindergarten and first grade art. She was so thrilled. Anyway, but so it was like those little flare-ups, and she gave me a call one time actually after that gift. She called me up and said, "Oh, Swarthmore's Players Club um, is looking to have artists, in their gallery, and they're looking for somebody for this December. Do you want to show?" And I said, "Oh, sure." So I gave that another flare-up, and tried it again, and I didn't sell anything, and I kind of get bummed about it, and then it's like those old voices pop in again. You know, you're not doing it. You got to stop. You got to find something that will give you money. And I feel like if I had just kept showing and kept trying, I probably would be, at the very least, making some side cash off my paintings. I think that's a reasonable belief for where I would be. At the very least, I might have already solved what it is I've been looking for in my studies of Van Gogh. But since it was not 20 years of research now, it's only been really actual painting time. Since graduating, probably a year and a half. Let's see, it was 2 years to my wife and I moved in together. I couldn't paint because of that was just space. The apartment we were in couldn't fit it. And let's see. I was on like 80-hour work weeks. So really, it was probably about, in the past 20 years, only about 5 or 6 years of solid painting time. Because I kept hearing those, you got to do something that is a career. I know it's not. When I did go to school, I wasn't in my department. He was actually an illustration major. Um, there was a gentleman that I got to know through my buddy Davin that he was, I think, 38 years old, and he had just started school again. He just decided he was going to be an illustrator. And he was very, very good. I mean, he's drawn all, majority of his life. Just decided, I'm not happy where I am, and I want to go to school, study it. So I think he had done construction before that. I have to get my buddy Davin to verify it, but I can't seem to get him even a reply to a Steam friend request, for God's sakes. I know the bastard's on there. He just plays the same games I do, so he doesn't give a shit. I don't think he'll play Rocket League with me because his brother does. So I think that's enough to keep him away. What's AAU? I'm just not sure of the abbreviation. And I don't want to Google it right now because I guarantee it'll fuck up my stream. if you gotta stop a little bit, by all means, just don't stop permanently. Um, I had a friend that I went to school with that I don't know where she is now. Um, I'm pretty aware she's not doing work anymore, but she was one of the most talented artists that we had at that school, and she kept dropping it out a little bit and taking a little time off, a little time off here, and a little time off there, and eventually she just stopped. Like I said, I tried to find her work online. Um, Found her once, like back in the MySpace days, and she had stopped working. And it's like, dude, it's literally a complete waste because she really did have some good stuff. She used to do these paintings with credit cards because she'd gotten herself in some credit card debt, and as college kids are ought to do. And so she cut up her cards and then used that to do these abstract paintings. Gorgeous. She had like they're very seasonal inspired. So it was she had a spring one, she had a autumn that I remember. I don't remember seeing winter, but she may have done that in the off season or after I'd graduated because she was still a few credits behind, you know. Now, where's that school located? Like, is there good museums around it? 'Cause that's very important. Okay. Well, as long as you can also, like I said, keep museum visits in play too. Okay. Oh, simpatico. There we go. That was the one real selling point for the University Arts of me was that I mean Center City, Philadelphia. If you felt like it, you could walk to the art museum. I mean, but there were enough buses, and public transportation that no problem. Now the Barnes Foundation is downtown. I mean, I'm not thrilled with the way they kind of finagled that. If you ever want to see kind of an atrocity of Philadelphia politics, watch the documentary "The Art of the Steal." Um, it's all about the Barnes Foundation and how the museum kind of stole it. Um, and now it's kind of funny how they half-ass follow what Dr. Barnes believed and then ignore it in other times. Um, I found that pretty amusing when I visited them. But if you any museums you can get to, I honestly wish though that when I was going to school, when I was looking at schools, I had applied and was accepted at the Art Institute of Chicago, but I heard Art Institute, and the well, no, I wouldn't say live it. I mean, I was a commuter, um, you know, but get there when you can. And online viewing stuff is decent, but it's still not the same. Like you weren't on it yet, I don't think, but I was talking about like the Van Gogh Museum's online viewer. It is really really good, and it gets you into places like it gets you so you can zoom in on it. Uh, exactly how I would like to look at their paintings, but then I get too close and they start saying, "Excuse me, sir, you'll be asked to leave if you don't back away." And yes, that has happened many times. Um, Actually, did happen in the Van Gogh show uh, with these same paintings, but anything you can get to. Um, I'm actually kind of needing a fix soon for it. It's been a while since I've been to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And check out like the Philly Museum has an artist membership. I don't know what other museums anywhere else do, but it was nice. $40 a month, yeah, for the year or whatever. Yeah, $40 a month. $40 for the year, and all I had to do was basically send them a shot of my Facebook page. Like, yeah, you count as an artist. Like, cool. I'd like to think so. So that's nice. And that was all it took, and they're $40, and I can go whenever I want, as long as I don't stay there for over 5 hours, which is a challenge for me. Parking's free. So yeah, like I said, it's something relatively new. I do know that because I'd been looking at memberships for a while, and then one day it popped up, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this?" The only downside of it is like I can bring my kids, I can't bring my wife, so she doesn't get like other membership levels have like discount tickets for somebody coming with you, and I don't get that as an artist membership. But it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, so to speak. It's like she doesn't want to go with me anyway. Um, well, yeah, no, believe me, she's very thankful. My wife hates going to art museums with me. Hates it. Like, she knows if we're going somewhere, like we went to Chicago, and like I was gonna say, if the Chicago people had told me that their school is actually in the fucking museum there, I would have gone. But I'd heard Art Institute, and Art Institute, the Art Institute of Philadelphia is basically the type of school that they'll take you if you pay them. Period. It's not really there's not really a high qualification path for them. At least, and now I think they're mostly shut down. But so it was, to me, that's what I heard, and I didn't really ask more questions regarding it, and I wish I had, because I would have gone to Chicago in a heartbeat. I love that city. That was really cool. We went to visit there, so she knew we had to go to the museum, because she knew I wasn't going to go through that trip without it. But she doesn't like it, because I'm very, very, very slow when I go through a museum. Like I said, I can easily blow 5 hours in the Philly Museum, and I've been there more times than I could ever count. The amount of time I've spent in front of the painting Rain by Van Gogh can now be measured in days. It's just in the number of years I've been going, and I can spend 2 hours in front of that painting alone in a single visit. So, and between that and the sunflowers Philly has, I can kill time just in those two. So, yeah, well, shopping for supplies is another adventure, but they killed most of the stores in Philly. There's Dick Blick's, which bought out Utrecht. Utrecht used to have a store literally right about 2 buildings down from the University Arts. It was so convenient, and it was borderline dangerous because it'd be like, oh, I need this one thing, but here I'll buy these other 10 things because I'm right here. And then they had a Pearl open up down on South Street, which was a bit of a hike, but they carried a lot of the stuff I used, and it was a little cheaper than Utrecht was. So, because it was like a mega store, but then that went under, and so that sucks. Now I pretty much just buy through Amazon. Yeah. Just because I'm Prime member, and it's like, you know what? When I pay for shipping on the stuff from Blick or from wherever, it's like I might as well just I get it for free from Amazon, and it boils down to about the same, and I get it in 2 days without having to pay extra. Trying to see, I'm not really thrilled with what's going right there. Because I'm using like this last bit of ultramarine. Trying to get it to come out. as far as going to museums go, I'll say this: there's only really, hold on, Mike, Bill, Davin. Yeah, I think that might be it. Maybe three, maybe four. If I'd have to think of the fourth. I'd have to work really hard to get the fourth of people that actually will tolerate, without bugging me, a museum trip for me with me. There's not many that'll take it. My buddy Bill, my buddy Mike, my buddy Davin. They're the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe my one friend Sam. Maybe it's been a while since I've hung out with him. Some stuff's going on with him, so I'm trying to think. And even the last time we went, I can't. There was a Van Gogh portrait show that passed by right after my wife and I had started dating. So this was like 2000, 2001, I think. And that's pretty much where she realized she liked me. She didn't like going to museum trips with me. But thankfully, we had a number of friends that had gone, and so I'm dragging ass through it. Taking my time with every painting. And I actually had no voice at the time. I'd lost my voice. So my buddy Davin had to actually interpret what I'd write like 3 words down on a piece of paper, and he'd interpret what I actually was saying, so everybody could tell what I was pointing out to them. But my wife and our friends just kind of quickly got through the show, and they took off and went out elsewhere and did other things in the museum. I believe when we finally exited, we were told that they had gone through the European, roughly Impressionist point, and the modern art wing of the museum before we had gotten out of that one show. I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting to go see those ones then. And I was told a resounding no. They were mean to the person out of voice. So they knew I couldn't defend myself. But my buddy Bill, my buddy Mike, they had gone with me down to the Van Gogh show. Like I said, that happened in about 98-ish, 97, 98. I'm trying to remember exactly now. But we had gone down on a 4 a.m. train down to D.C. And we'd done the smart thing. Stayed up until, like, it was 2 a.m, something like that. So we were really smart. Then we get on the train, figuring we'll sleep on the train, and we couldn't. Then we went and got some coffee, and the Amtrak coffee was fucking insane. That amount of caffeine should be illegal. Because at the time, we were all heavy coffee drinkers, and we used to be able to go to like Denny's and drink like 6 cups of coffee, 7 cups of coffee, no problem. Go right home, go right to sleep. And this shit woke our asses up. And so we go down there, and we waited in line from like 6 a.m. till 10 when the museum opened up to get the free tickets that they had opening. I think we got the 10:30 entry, and we were in there until about 1:30. That's right. And we still felt rushed, so we actually went down like about a month later again. This time my buddy Mike came with us, and we spent another 4 hours in there so that we could actually feel like we saw everything fully. And my buddy Bill confused the hell out of the people trying to sell us the audio tours or whatever. They tried to, they're coming around with it, audio tour $10 or whatever, and they get to my buddy Bill. Audio tour $10. My buddy goes, $10? Fuck that. Because I got my own audio tour and this one curses. And the lady just sat there and looked at us like, I don't know what that means. Like she just had that look like she had no fucking clue what we were talking about. So it was entertaining. And then for like the next 4.5 hours, we're in that show, and I'm getting close to paintings as close as I can before the guards start, getting real close to me. And I'd see something like a purple or something that Vincent would use, and I just, motherfucker! You see all these old people, like, yeah, it was fun. If you're not seeing something that basically elicits a what the fuck out of you from stuff that you think you've known, you're not looking hard enough. You got to find stuff, man. I think I pointed out before. Um, Hold on one sec. I don't think it's visible in this print at all. No. It's literally far too small in this print to actually see it all. But if you ever get to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, this one is cypresses. Um, there is you can't see it at all in this print, but there are some like Indian red, like I guess just knowing what he used to use a lot, probably Carmine Lake, not Carmine Lake, uh, Red Matter Lake, I think is what it is. I think that's the color. Um, Kind of mixture of that. Definitely a very reddish tone that you don't get in these prints. You don't get it in the print in that book, and online it's still not visible. It's slightly more visible online, but it looks more like a burnt sienna. Um, and there's just a few specks of it in this painting. And I used to hate this painting because of prints like this. It didn't feel balanced to me. And once I got to that museum and saw it for the first time and got uncomfortably close with it, the guards started looking at me funky, is when I first, holy shit, with that. And it's just something I feel like if you're not looking for that oh shit moment, and you're not looking for the right part of the painting. And as I said, unfortunately, you're probably never going to see it in an online forum until they start really reproducing shit a lot better. And I don't know that we're ever really get to that, to the point where you can really tell the texture and really tell the work that was done. Maybe we will, and I'll look like an asshole in like 20 years or something. That's fine. But as of right now, until that time, I am right. Have a good night, and thank you. How much time we got? About 20 minutes. Hopefully, I can get this finished. It's getting there. It's almost finished. What else is here? Anybody else here? Want to say hello? I should probably put that print back before I forget. A little bit of that olive green viridian mixture makes a nice little funk. There's some more stuff down here right now. There's a Dutch artist, and the name's escaping me now. I think they referred that he would do like 20 different types of blacks. was one of those classic Dutch, deep blacks, the deep chiaroscuro, and he was just notorious for finding these varieties. And, like I said, I do not use black paint at all, but I'd like to see if I could find that in greens. But definitely tried in this painting, that's for damn sure. Actually, just throw a little, let me get some of that carmine. A nice red. Just drop this in the middle of this. A couple areas, so it's like the little patches shining through. Yeah, that's nice. You know what? We did some magenta in there last night. We're gonna pop some more in there. I wish I had a better camera on this stuff. I do. I really. I'll get there. I ask everybody to be patient with me. A few painting sales maybe, or some luck with the applications I had for some grants and stuff, specifically for art education, which is my goal here eventually, to get people interacting and talking and learning art and all that good yummy shit. And I would not be so pompous as to say I'm a very good art teacher, as much as I want to be a source where interaction can occur. I expect to learn as much from people, hopefully submitting stuff here, as I will be sharing and teaching them. I am quite opinionated, I know that. I'm just usually right. Ask anyone who knows me. Except anybody that actually knows me. I gotta take a quick step back because I'm not seeing it because of the glare. I just want to say. I think what it needs to sell it is these little, maybe just one or two down here, that yellow green, and nothing heavy. I get it to flatten out a little, like mixed in with this other stuff, just to get it like a little bit of that light. It's coming down here, and it's been sifted through. Got the touch. It's got the power. Now all you motherfuckers watching this have that in your head now, right? You got the touch! That'd been hilarious. It's actually in my ears, but I don't have that in my library right now. But I think I know something I gotta fix. Somebody to love. There we go. Scuttle singing again. Come on. There we go. I think that's good. All right. So we got a little bit of growth, like little moss, or algae or whatever, growing along the bridge here. And we got 15 minutes. I said we knock that shit out. Little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest, picking up the field mice, bop 'em on the head. Down came the good fairy, and She said, knock that shit off. If I knew how to give rewards, I'd give a reward to anybody who could actually tell me where that's from. Not counting Mike, because that doesn't count. He knows. I know he knows. Because he's the one who taught me. Oh, I gotta have to move this mic, because that damn near caused a disaster. You only need somebody to love, but you got a good thing going. Back in the arms of a good friend. We'd already started to add a little something there, it looks like, so I'm not going to try to cover that up. I don't want to shake the little bit of funk we got going. Again, broken and weary, unable to find my way, telling him dizzy and clearly, unable to just let this go. I am surrendering to the gravity in the unknown. Catch me. Alright, so I'm just going to do a little olive green and just some titanium white here. And I'm still painting this shit with my little double aught. Just in case anybody's wondering. I keep forgetting I gotta be more instructional. Until I have some more interaction shit. Again, like a baby, unable to take my own. Just let this go. I am surrendering to the gravity in the unknown. Catch me, heal me, lift me back up to the sun. I choose to live. I choose to live. Help me survive the bottom. just heard me talking about how much time I spent in front of painting rain. And the funny thing about that is I had spent so many years standing in front of that painting trying to figure it out. Because that painting always confused me. Compared to other works of Vincent's, especially from that time period, it is a very gray painting. It is very gray. Especially, like I said, you hold it up to anything else and you go, well, it was a rainy day. But it's more than that. There's Vincent did other stuff with rain before, and it's not like that. There's something else at play there. And it occurred to me when I was standing in front of it after I'd had my breakdown that I think I'd finally figured it out. I'd have to imagine it's one of the earlier paintings in his time at Saint Remy, or it's one because he had attacks there too, and it's one after one of the attacks there. Only because when I had my breakdown, I lost a sense of vividness in my sight for a while. And I look at that painting now and I begin to think to myself, he must have gone through something similar. Because when you look at other stuff just compared to that same view, it's very different. It stands out. It's different. So I just and just the way I look at it now. And I'm gonna go. I want to make a thing. Like I said, I'm gonna do an episode fully about some of these art, pieces that I find personally here, but that one, I don't think I can hit home enough. If you look at everything inside, Alexa, skip. Filthy, dirty whore. Anyway, just tired of that same fucking album. Anyway, the brushstroke inside the walls charge that wall. They are. It's like a fucking wave trying to hammer that fucking wall. And then beyond that is brushstroke we would more typically refer to as Vincent brushstroke, as Van Gogh's stroke. And to me, even though he had self-committed, he knows something's wrong. He's trying to get better, but his soul, the real part of him, just wants the fuck out of that building. He wants out of those fucking walls. And he wants to be in those mountains and in those trees, and all that stuff beyond that wall. And it didn't. All the time I had spent in front of that painting, it took until I cracked before I actually got it. And now I'll still stand in front of it for a very, very long time, but it's hard. It hurts, literally. I actually have a scar on my arm from a little bit of self-harm that had happened right before my breakdown, and it burns when I stand in front of that painting. And I know it's in my head. I know it's all that, but it's a unique experience. But after therapy and after medication and the song I was just listening to, Gravity from Perfect Circle, made me think about this because that song actually was kind of the motivator to really seeking help, because it was that whole help me survive life, help me survive the bottom. That's really where I was at that point. So, all right, I think we're about there. I might do that little carmine mixture we had earlier. Carmine, yellow ochre, a little cadmium yellow in there, I believe, right? Like that, a little. Let it mix in with the green. It's going to make it browned out a little bit. Just a happy little, some bushes down here, together, hanging out. How's Bob? He's good, This is Mercy by Richter, played by Hillary Hunt. It's so good. It's beautiful. I said before, if you do nothing else, do yourself a favor and get Retrospective by Hillary Hunt. So good, so good. Lighter algae color we used. Just throw this in that back there. It's the reflections off the wood or something. Alright. I think that's it for this area. So, now we gotta figure out this fucking water next time. So that'll be Wednesday night, Thursday night, and I hope that's it. I'd like to be done by Thursday night. Now Thursdays, like I said, Thursday will be shorter, unfortunately. Sun's Karate is supposed to be 7 to 8. I think I'm set for 8:15, if I'm not mistaken. So it won't be too bad. It should be pretty close. So maybe like 8:30, I hope. So hopefully we can get that out and get it on time. Yeah, at least close to on time. I'm going to do one thing here. Let's just spot something. And then we'll call it quits because it's almost 10:30. To be quite honest, I did not sleep well last night, so I want to get to bed. And now I know I'm going to go upstairs and I'll clean up, and actually I won't even go upstairs. I guarantee I'll sit at my damn computer desk and just watch something stupid on YouTube. While I wait for this to transfer out. Maybe something like that. That'll work. Just give it some oomph. Alright. That's it. Yeah, I could hammer on these things and keep going back, but that's going to overwork it, and that's going to end up looking like the water. I'm not happy with that, so. Alright. So that's it for tonight. I'm really satisfied so far with everything except for this fucking water. So, hopefully we figure this out and it will stop fighting me. Till then, I will see you guys, not tomorrow, but I'll see you on Wednesday. I gotta click that stop first. I should put this up before I say that shit. Good night.